They literally kissed at the beginning of this episode right outside of her home, right outside of the new home where she and her new husband and his crazy ass uncle preside. Hello. Today we're going to be talking about episodes 3 and 4 of Buried Heart. If you're new, welcome. I'm Jess. I love K-dramas and I just want to chat about it. And while you're here, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to be notified of upcoming videos. So I have lots of thoughts on this drop of episodes. So get comfy, grab a drink, and let's just chat about it. So episode 3 still very much felt like setup in terms of what's going to be the main plot for the show. So as we start the episode, Dongju goes to see Grandpa Prosecutor, who at the end of episode 2 was revealed to be the one who sent someone to attack him. And as he's pleading for his life, he mentions that he has all this money that he stole and he'd be willing to transfer it to Grandpa Prosecutor in exchange for essentially not killing him. So when the henchman gives him time to transfer over the money, Dongju installs a hacking software onto the computer. So this doesn't fully make sense to me. I know they're setting him up to be some sort of hacker, and that's what has been mentioned in the description of the show, but I feel like we have yet to actually find any information in terms of Dongju's background. Like, how did he become a hacker? Why is he no longer a hacker? Who are his hacking associates? It just feels like there's so much information about who he is and what his background is that we have not been given yet. Later on, Dongju goes to meet with one of his hacking associates, we presume, and asks for her help in getting some money to transfer to Grandpa Prosecutor because this will be the start of their grand hacking scheme. And while he's there, he also requests 2 phones which cannot be traced. And you can guess who the second phone is going to. It's going to be Unam. So at this point, I actually have really mixed feelings in terms of their relationship, if you want to call it. I think I've seen some things online about people who are like really rooting for them and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. I personally am not really rooting for them at the moment. Aside from like everything that's happened in episode 1, I don't think this whole situation is really just not being respectful of everyone involved, and they're really not doing a good enough job at even hiding that there's something going on. Like, it's to the point where hubby prosecutor is also suspicious of everything that's going on. So there's a family dinner which presumably Unam is not invited to because she's a woman and she got married. It's like she's basically not even part of this family. So she shows up with a bruise in her eye and everyone is like ready to throw hands and ready to kind of fight hubby prosecutor and his family for assumingly assaulting Unam. And then all of a sudden, hubby prosecutor shows up with a broken foot and he's on crutches and everyone is just really like, oh, that's not what happened. She attacked you, which I thought was a little weird in terms of everyone's reaction because they kind of laughed at it and I didn't think it was funny in any sense. But essentially everyone is telling Unam that she needs to go home. She's just like, no, I really want to stay here. And then in some sort of altercation, hubby prosecutor grabs her arm and then the bracelet that they kept showing in episode 1 that Dongju gave her like rips into a million pieces on the floor. And we find out that she also has a tattoo with Dongju's initials on it. And it's crazy that they didn't show that to us at all in the first 2 episodes because I went on and on and on about the fact that he has her name tattooed. And honestly, I stand by everything I said in my last video because she also got a tattoo of his name and then ultimately, well, as we'll get to, chose money over being with him. And I think at this moment, I was honestly starting to feel a little bad for hubby prosecutor because it's clear that he knows something is off. So he notices her tattoo and then we get a flashback of him also noticing Dongju's tattoo in the last episode when he got drunk. And it literally doesn't help that almost everyone in the room except for one of the chairman's daughters, knows what's going on. And then Unam and Dongju are literally not making it easy on anyone, because they're just like literally like staring at each other longingly, and then everyone else is just staring at them. And then hubby prosecutor is looking at Unam to figure out who she's looking at, and then all you see is Dongju in the background looking at her like a sad puppy, and he literally has to stand between them in order for her to stop looking at Dongju. Also, they literally kissed at the beginning of this episode right outside of her home, right outside of the new home where she and her new husband and his crazy ass uncle Prasad, they were making out in the garden where anyone could catch them. Like, it's really so hard to root for them when they're just like making all these dumb decisions in the name of love. And then while we're on that, I like that this episode revealed that Unam chose to get married. She literally chose to toss Dongju aside in order to get family shares. And then even when the chairman gives her an out in terms of she can give up the shares if she wants to be with Dongju, but she cannot do both things, she still chooses the shares over Dongju. And one thing I will say is that I know we're only on episode 3, but I think I'm really finding it difficult to root for Unam when I have no idea what her motivation is on like a lot of the characters that we've seen. Like, I don't know why she cares so much about the money. Like, I also don't even know why she's even into Dongju. Like, we have yet to really see her perspective on the entire situation. It's really harsh to say, but I feel like she's a coward, and it's really difficult for me to root for them as a couple. So as of right now, where I stand is I'm actually rooting for them not to get together at the end of the show, which I know is a little bit of a controversial take, but I digress. Dongju changes the password of Grandpa Prosecutor's account. So that account holds over 2 trillion won, which I will put the US conversion somewhere on the screen. So essentially he is gone for 10 days because he got approval from the chairman to take a vacation, because apparently this man has never taken a vacation since his first year working for the company. And honestly, he's living his best life. He is playing basketball with the little kids. He's at the beach. He's on a boat, literally just doing whatever he wants. And the plan is for him, while he's on this 10-day vacation, because now he has the money, to essentially, I think, run away and get married with Unam. So there's a point where they had agreed to meet at a certain time, and then when it's time, he calls her and asks where she is. So she lies. Let me just say it again. She lies for some reason about where she is when she's literally in a taxi like a couple blocks from where he is, and she can literally see him. So then he's upset and trying to figure out what's going on, and then all of a sudden she changes her mind, or it was just maybe a ploy to get him to be a little bit upset. And then surprise, when she shows up, she is right just as she is about to get out of the car, she gets kidnapped by some men who we find out to be chairman, because he found out that they were trying to run away together. So while that's happening, Dongju literally has no idea about anything. He's just trying to call her, but obviously she's not picking up the phone. And then he decides he's just gonna go back on the boat. So while he's on the boat, we can see some of the plans he had. So there was a violin piece that he had been practicing, which is also one of the OSTs in the show. And then he was also planning to make some food for her. And then he had a tuxedo and wedding dress ready to go. So as he's chilling on the boat, this is where shit gets crazy. So he's just chilling on the boat, and all of a sudden we see a smaller boat coming up to him. He decides to wave because he's a nice person, and then the guy is smiling at him, and then all of a sudden the person on the other boat pulls out a gun and shots Dongju. That's it. He got shot. Like, what is going on? And then it's revealed that the person who shot him is son-in-law. Honestly, I was so shocked. Like, I figured that the person on the boat would either be like one of the henchmen, grandpa prosecutor, or even someone that was hired. I never would have expected son-in-law to honestly just to have the balls to go out on the boat and then shoot Dongju. It's later revealed that Grandpa Prosecutor was actually in on the entire thing. He was the one who gave son-in-law the gun. So as they're drinking and chit-chatting, he decides he wants to reward him by giving him some money. So henchman goes to the other room to get his laptop and he's typing in the password, and then all of a sudden, error. He tries again, error. So he pops into the room, and then that's when they discover that Dongju had changed their password and there's a hacking software now on the laptop. So now Grandpa Prosecutor is upset, and honestly rightfully so, because he can't get his money because the only person who has the password is dead and his killer is drinking wine in the other room. So naturally he wants some sort of payback, and he wants son-in-law to go and get his money, even if he has to steal it from the chairman. And Grandpa Prosecutor, he's not a fool. He always has an insurance policy. So regardless of what would have happened in this situation, he has video evidence and he has photos of son-in-law preparing to commit this crime. Literally photos of him on the boat, photos of him renting the boat, literally everything. So now son-in-law has to figure out what he's gonna do. And there's just like so many layers to this, because now son-in-law has to try and steal money from the secret vault that the chairman has. So first he goes into the library and steals the password that's hidden in a book, and then when he goes to the secret vault and tries the password, it's incorrect. And the reason it's incorrect is because literally in the last episode the chairman changed the password, and the only other person who has the password is the man he just killed. So in case you're confused about this money plotline, let me break it down for you. So at the top we have Dongju, who stole 2 trillion won from Grandpa Prosecutor, and then son-in-law kills Dongju at the request of Grandpa Prosecutor. So now Grandpa Prosecutor is upset because the only person who has the password to his account was Dongju, who has been shot and killed. Now Grandpa Prosecutor is upset and he wants son-in-law to get his money back. So son-in-law tries to steal from chairman, but the password is incorrect because the only person who has the new password is Dongju, the man he shot and killed. So son-in-law is literally on the floor in front of the vault, like in denial about the whole thing, and literally just wishing for Dongju to come back to life. And I will say son-in-law is really going through it right now, and I think that's why I really like him as a character. I feel like even though he committed this crime, he still can't shake what he did. Like he's having visions of Dongju, who's all bloodied, asking him like why he would do this, and that kind of makes me think that he wasn't responsible for Unam's father's death, because otherwise he would be able to kind of like live a guilt-free life. And he just killed Dongju, and literally you can even see it on his face that he's not okay. And I feel like that also just makes him a really complex character, because I feel like he's going through so much and he's really trying to be a good dad, he's trying to be a good husband, stepfather, and just trying to overall like protect his family. But the difficulty is that he went into bed with Grandpa Prosecutor, who literally doesn't have any morals and who will literally stomp on anyone to get what he wants. But we're gonna see what happens, because we get to episode 4 and Dongju is actually alive. Episode 4. Honestly, I'm very confused by everything that's going on, and I also have a lot of questions about the plot. But wow, what a great episode. This episode really focuses on the manhunt for Dongju to see whether or not he's alive, which we know he's alive, and how his existence and how his disappearance is actually causing a lot of inconveniences for all of the characters in the drama. So I want to start by saying that I take back everything I said about feeling bad for a hubby prosecutor like 5 minutes ago. Like, let's throw this man in the trash along with most of the men in this show, because what is he doing? Like, he's such a snake for ratting out, well, first of all, he's a snake for answering Unam's phone when she left the room, but then also he handed the phone to the mom, essentially like ratting out that Unam had been talking to Dongju this entire time. And then he also tries to forcibly kiss her when she says that she loved Dongju for the man that he is, essentially applying the hubby prosecutor is never going to be the man that she wants. And it's like, she's obviously not into you, so why are you trying so hard or doing all these things that it's going to just make her reject you? And especially like forcibly kissing her, yuck, let's throw him out. And on the coastal side, Dongju wakes up and has absolutely no recollection of who he is, his former life, like, honestly, what is going on? He has absolutely no memories. And I will say, this introduces a new mystery to the show, because who is he? He also gives a different name when asked what his name is, which was a little weird because he fully believes that that's who he is. So it's like, who is this name that he gave out? Why is he having visions of a car accident? Which the only car accident the show has mentioned so far is the one involving Unam's dad as well as son-in-law. So was he somehow involved in that? Was he also a victim? Also, why was the secretary giving such a panicked look when she found out that Dongju had said this other name? There's just so many mysteries going on, and I just have so many questions. But I'm really excited to dive in and hopefully get all of those answered over the course of the next couple of weeks. I do wonder how him having amnesia will ultimately impact his revenge plotline, because right now he doesn't remember anything. So he's probably gonna have to relearn everything that's happened. Also, it could be used as an advantage later on where everything thinks he has amnesia, but he's able to regain his memories and they're treating him completely different. Only time will tell, I guess. I really found the manhunt in this episode to be a nice change of pace for the show compared to a lot of the scenes where we just kind of have everyone feuding with each other and they're just literally staring at each other in a room. So on the island, we have Dongju and his savior, Beardy, trying to retrace their steps to figure out whether he was in a car accident or getting his phone fixed and essentially figuring out what happens to him. And then on the other side of the island, we have Grandpa Prosecutor's henchmen combing through the island, speaking to locals, trying to figure out what's going on. And it very much felt like a really fun heist movie in terms of all these different plot lines that are going on. And we're just like wondering who's going to be the one to spill the beans, because everyone at this point has seen Dongju. They know he's not from the island and he has very striking face. And son-in-law has also been tasked with going to the island to assist in this manhunt. So there's a point where he is on Dongju's yacht, and then Dongju and Beardy are on a smaller boat, also looking around trying to figure out what happened. And there's a point where they like cross paths and son-in-law is like shocked to see his face. And then in the midst of that, I feel so bad for laughing. In the midst of that, he gets really confused and he falls. This man falls off of the boat, and I laughed so hard. Like, I know he couldn't swim and I also can't swim, and it would not be funny if I was in that situation, but the way he fell was just so funny. And then Dongju, being the great person that he is, jumps off of his boat, dives into the water, and then goes to save him. And son-in-law was just like really confused about the whole situation, because why would the person that he had shot and he had thought killed jump into the water to save his life? And I just want to give a shout out to the actor playing son-in-law, because he is giving so much face. Like, every time we see him, there's a multitude of emotions being displayed on his face, and you can really see the complexity in terms of all the emotions his character is battling in every scene, and I think he's doing a great job. And when the henchmen eventually find their shack, Beardy is able to hide himself as well as Dong-ju so that the henchmen don't find them, and instead they're led astray and go a different way. And as they're escaping, Beardy looks into the camera and then rips off his fake beard and mustache, smiles to the camera, and then goes up the ladder. And I will say I've been on board generally for the show since episode 1. I've been enjoying everything that happened, but this is the moment that like wowed me. Like I was literally so shocked because everyone has been referring to him as Beardy. That's the name he goes by. Everyone associates him with the mustache and beard, literally every photo they have. So the fact that this man has been faking it the whole time, wild. I really do hope that we see more of him as Dong-ju heads back to the city. Lastly, Dong-ju returns to the city to try and figure out more information about his identity. So he was shot with a specific suit on, so he goes to the suit shop and tries to gather information about what his real name is. And while he's there, Unam is also there with hubby prosecutor, and she overhears his voice and she starts calling him Dong-ju, and obviously he's not responding because that's not the name that he knows as his name. And eventually she gets closer and she's like continuously saying his name, and he looks at her with absolutely no memories of who she is and their love. I generally don't like amnesia plot lines in K-dramas, but I will say that in this case it's very poetic, because for the past 3 episodes everyone has been using him, everyone has been taking things away from him. Like Unam, they almost took his job away, as well as essentially they took away his life as well. And now just when they actually need him, he gets to do the biggest FU to everyone in this drama by conveniently losing his memories, and it's just so delicious. And it's honestly probably for the best, because everyone's been using him, everyone's out to get him, and now he doesn't even remember any of it. I feel a little misled by the description of the drama. Not that it's a bad thing, but I feel like what we were promised and what we're getting are completely different, and I feel like the description didn't do the show justice at all. One of my favorite things from the set of episodes is I like that not everything is in chronological order, but rather we're shown pivotal moments and we as the audience are trying to figure out what happened, and then later on the show reveals, kind of like in shocking moments, what happened or who was responsible for it. And I kind of like it because it allows me to come up with my own theories of what's happening, and then also I usually tend to be shocked every single time. So essentially it's really keeping me on my toes. Okay, so what are my predictions for the next set of episodes? 1, I think Unam is going to try to make Dong-ju fall in love with her. Number 2, everyone is going to lose their shit when they find out that he has amnesia and they're not going to believe him. 3, wishful thinking on my part, but I really want son-in-law to start working with Dong-ju, or at least like kind of protect him from Grandpa Prosecutor, considering that he saved his life. It doesn't have to be this episode, but like I just want that for sometime down the line. So like drama gods, if you're listening, please make this happen for this man. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on episode 3 and 4, as well as your theories on Dong-ju's identity and what you think is going to happen in the next set of episodes. And on that note, have a lovely day, and I will see you next week.